Hey fam, welcome back to my channel, Lipedema. Today I wanted to kind of do a follow-up on a video that I did a couple of weeks ago where I talked about my Wegovy journey. It's the Wegovy before and now. And that's a 1 year, 3 month journey that I've been on and I'm still on with this medication that really has had meaningful outcomes for me, I would say. And I know there's still more to come. So I'm excited about what's to come in the future, but also like really interested because I didn't expect some of the changes that I saw in my legs, particularly. That's where I've got a very large collection of lipedema fat, and it is painful, it is fibrous, and it is still there and bruising. But I did lose a lot of the regular fat that was, I guess, on top of it or underneath that lipedema fat. I'm not really sure how the layering happens. But what I would say is that it forced me to kind of really relook like what I wanted to do moving forward. And so for anyone else who's out there who might be a little bit on the fence about whether or not they need to get surgery to be able to have a meaningful difference in their life, I wanted to share what I found out from my Wegovy journey. And of course, Wegovy is not going to be for everyone, certainly, and definitely for people who don't have that much regular fat to lose. Like this isn't going to be helpful. And I also wanted to say, like, trigger warning, like, we're going to be talking about sort of before and afters for body. And if you have body image issues or feel uncomfortable or triggered by those kinds of conversations, this might not be the video for you. 100%, I don't think that my before body versus my now body are one is not better than the other. I just think they're different and it's a meaningful difference that Wegovy is delivered for me. So I want to share that with folks who might be within that sort of envelope where they are eligible for Wegovy or some other GLP-1 medication. And also for people who are thinking about like, well, can there be a meaningful change, enough of a meaningful change to my lipedema in my legs or arms that I actually want to think again about surgery, or that maybe I could go with more conservative treatment. So one of the things that I did that was super helpful in the journey is that I weighed in every day. So I called that the old pee and weigh. So as soon as I got up in the morning, went to the bathroom, and then I weighed myself in. What I also did was to take measurements throughout the course of that journey. And I wish I'd been a little bit more, I would say, like, standardized in the approach that I took. But basically, every 2 to 3 months, I just did measurements. And I'll show you the measurements that I did are going to be at my waist. And by the way, for folks who are still in this lipedema journey and they found that all of their pants don't fit up top, but they still fit their legs just fine, this is a great belt. I'll put a link to it in the description box below because I love it. It has made such a difference for me. Just 100% helps me keep all of the old pants that I had that I still like, that still fit my legs, but are just like falling off my waist. Hello, lipedema. That's one of the things that people with lipedema know that people who don't have lipedema just don't get. But I did my measurement here at the waist. I did them at the hip, and then I did low hip because that's kind of where I've got some boom boom that hangs out. Most of my caboose has been lost to Wegovy, but that's okay. Well worth it. And then I went sort of mid thigh, and then at the knee, and then finally in my mid calf. And I did do ankles. There really wasn't very big change in the ankles throughout. I wish I'd done my arms, but I didn't start doing the arms until I was sort of like 3 or 4 months in. And then I thought, it's just doesn't like, it doesn't tell a story on its own. So I just stopped holding on to it. Plus, I'd had some liposuction in my arms before I knew that it was the right thing that I should be doing for lipedema, just because my arms had been so problematic for me. So I think that actually I've probably done a lot to help myself in the arms when it comes to lipedema management. And of course, I haven't had a chance to do that for my legs yet. For the folks who've been following me for a while, you know that I do plan on doing surgery, or at least I did until I did this Wegovy before and now. I also have a doctor who I think is a really great and like responsible doctor, right? Someone who's not just doing it because they think they're going to get like an insurance, windfall. And I also, of course, have the insurance approval, and happy to tell folks about that journey because It's been fraught. And I also am going to have an update about VA because I found out something very interesting about VA. So I'll do that in another video. All right, bringing myself back to now. So, what I'm going to share with you today is going to be a little bit like in depth. It's going to be a little bit like wonky. So, let me nerd out for a minute. And I'm going to show you what the actual changes were to my upper body, like my waist and hips versus my lower body. So thinking more about my mid thigh, knee, and then my calves, right? So you can see what the impact of just losing this weight with Wegovy had on my legs and my lipedema fat. Now, I want to say for sure, if you saw my Wegovy before and now video, you can see that I still have plenty of lipedema fat still on my legs. What I lost was the normal fat. My circumference right now is about 15.5 inches. So that's after losing 94 pounds. And I think I'm almost up to 100 pounds now. I'm at a 15.5 inch calf. By the way, I'll leave some links below and I'll share some pictures of me wearing some wide calf boots that I found to be incredibly helpful in case there are folks out there, since it's going into fall here. Maybe it'd be helpful for folks who are looking to find a boot that might fit. Now I find that some of the boots that I'm going to show you are like, I can actually wear them with other pants that aren't like skin tight or like tights because that's all I could wear them with before. And some of them, like my son was like, maybe you need to go up like to a not as wide calf boot. So that was really exciting. Again, meaningful differences, right? What I won't tell you is what my plan is right now because I don't want to influence anyone before you see the difference in the data. And if you watch all the way to the end, I'll tell you what my plan is moving forward after I've made this discovery and looked at the data related to my Wegovy weight loss journey specific to the lipedema in my legs. Please like and subscribe, and I'll let voiceover me take it from here with a deep dive on these lipedema legs. Thanks. Hey fam, I'm really excited to share this data with you, and I thought I would do it in a fun way in case there are folks out there who maybe haven't had a chance to use AI tools very much. I'm using Claude today, which is an Anthropic tool for AI. And what I've done basically is paste in a prompt saying, I want you to analyze these 4 sets of data over a period of time from December 2023 to October 2024 and provide a summary of change. The data was recorded from a subject who has lipedema, that's me, in the lower leg and the knee and calf, which, by the way, I actually thought that I had lipedema more concentrated in other areas. I do have it in my arms, but I excluded those measurements from this. One of the things that I also made, like the Wegovy journey made really clear, was that while I do have it in other areas, that where I have the biggest challenge with losing the lipedema fat is in my lower leg, so from knee down. And that's where I would need to prioritize any intervention that I might do, right? Is focusing on the knee and down. So to continue with what I input in here, I was saying this person began using a GLP-1 medication to lose weight on July 9th of 2023. The data set number 1 is how the body measurements changed in certain areas. Data set number 2 is how the measurements in inches changed in the left leg. Data set number 3, how the body measurements changed in the right leg. And then data set number 4 looked at a slightly longer period of time that was just dedicated to the GLP medication for weights. So that was from May until October. And it described the weight in pounds at each time benchmark. So I asked the AI to identify any trends or noticeable callouts between the rate of loss in the major lipedema areas with knee, calf, versus other areas, and then the average rate of weight loss in inches lost per month. So this, I then pasted in all of the data sets, which I just pasted in from Excel. So it's amazing that I can take that kind of raw data and do this with it. So I'll let you see how it's going to process that. So what I loved, and I didn't expect this one, is it gave me all of the information to show like the change everywhere. It gave me the key findings, right? So this was, the differential weight loss areas where it showed that actually in the areas where I had lipedema, I was actually, where in the areas I did not have lipedema, I was actually losing at 3 times the rate that I was losing in the other areas. Now, a fun thing that Claude did for me in a different chat was to actually graph out these areas for me. So it made it really clear. It did a graph showing the measurement changes for left knee, left calf, right knee, right calf. And it also showed how my weight loss progression changed as I was increasing the dosages of the Wegovy. I started at 259, which is the highest that I've been in my life. That's the heaviest I've been in my life. And as I was ramping on that medication, you can see that my weight loss was starting at about 5 pounds per month, and ramped up to about 7 pounds per month for a period of time. And now it's slowed down as I've gone on the maintenance dose. And basically, I'm kind of hovering now at about the 4 pounds a month range. And you can see how my weight's gone down. So now I'm right at 160 pounds. And then these are my lipedema area measurements, and these are the non-lipedema area measurements. Also, I'm going to give another prompt real time to redraw the chart, to make it easier to see the weight loss change. And I'll say weight loss and measurement changes. And the reason I want to do this is because I think it's just done at a different scale than is actually easy for people to see. So I'll just change the scale. And I don't know why I can't. It's because y'all are watching. But when I ask it to redraw, I think it's really cool. Like you'll see it kind of thinking about it. And now it's optimizing this one for to meet my requests, and thinking about how to present it in a different way to make it easier to digest for all of you. And in the meantime, well, we'll let this one like play out because it doesn't take very long. And I think it's helpful to kind of see just how amazing this can be as a tool. So if you're not leveraging AI, let me know. I wrote a book about it. If you're Gen X or mid-career professional and you just feel like you missed the Gen AI memo, I did write a book because I'm like, it's not that hard. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a tech company, even though I'm a non-technical person. I see a lot of people who are really on the cutting edge of this and are very comfortable using it. And so it's started to be something that I'm much more comfortable using in my own personal life. So I thought it would be kind of helpful just to share this information out. Okay, so it's definitely taking its time thinking about some things. I'm curious to see what it's going to do. Interesting. Some variant failed. I don't know what that means. So I'm asking Claude right now to fix itself, which is odd. So it's fixing its own code. I've never seen this happen. The AI is basically having a conversation with itself right now, but I've literally never seen this happen. So let's see if it can fix its own code. And in the meantime, by the way, I'm not taking any pauses or stopping the video or doing any speed ups or anything. What you're seeing happen is happening real time. And I'm doing my best to keep talking through it so that you can see that I'm not this isn't me like pushing pause while Claude takes like 30 minutes to figure things out. Okay, there we go. So here's the output. Looks like Claude can fix himself. That's kind of funny. So this is showing on a slightly different scale, so you can really see the difference. So in my left knee, for folks who are interested, my left knee was 19.5 inches when I started this journey. And I want you to look to see what my left calf was. It was 18.5. So there was literally only 1 inch of difference between my knee and my calf. And I think that's a powerful thing to think about. And when we say like, there's this column like aspect to the leg, like you can see there's almost no difference. And it really stays that way until below what people would call like their mid calf. And then I go down, probably I lose another couple of inches, and then finally end up right at the ankle going down to about 10 and a half. So that's another thing about lipedema, that it is foot and hand sparing. So you don't see the same kind of big ankles that you might see in lymphedema in a person who has lipedema. And my ankles are about 10.5, 10.25 on each side. Okay, so we started at 19.5 inches at the knee and 18.5 inches on the calf. I was pretty symmetrical. My right calf is a little bit smaller than the left calf. And look what happened when we go down. You can see that the left knee, I lost about 2 inches. My left calf went down a little more than 2 inches. And it's same for the right knee, right calf. You can see the changes there. A little bit more that I lost in the right knee. And the right calf, I think, was the most significant. Like it ended up the smallest, even though the left calf is only slightly bigger, it is about an inch bigger. So I think that's kind of interesting. But when you look at the hip measurements, look at the massive change where you look at hip and waist measurements versus my knee and calf measurements. So here you had a total change of basically 2 inches ish, right? So a loss of 2 inches. Meanwhile, on my waist, I started at a 36 and I ended up at a 30.5. So 5.5 inches off the waist. And when you look at my hip, this is my high hip area, I started at a 46 and finished at a 38. So it's a really big difference that you see on the waist and hip measurements. And I ran another analysis on Claude where I was just trying to get it to kind of just summarize a little bit better what the differences were. Right. So you can see in the lipedema areas, the total reduction was about 2.5 inches on the left side in each of the places, the left knee and left calf, versus 2 inches on my right knee and then 3 inches on my right calf. Who knows why, right? But that rate of loss was about 0.25 inches per month. And then when you look at the rate of loss on the non-lipedema areas, you see that that rate of loss was more like 0.75 inches, so almost an inch a month, right? Or a half inch on the waist per month. And on the upper thighs, it was about, almost like 2/3 of an inch in 1 month. So that's kind of crazy. It's a very, very big difference. So even AI could say that the rate of inch loss in lipedema affected areas was notably slower than in the non-lipedema areas. So lipedema areas averaged a 0.2 inches lost per month, and the non-lipedema areas averaged 0.7 inches lost per month. Then the loss in lipedema areas, they said, was consistent but smaller in magnitude, showing less dramatic changes between the measurement periods. And there appeared to be a correlation between the loss of weight, that rate, and the measurement changes. So in the periods of faster weight loss, that corresponded to larger measurement reductions in the non-lipedema areas, but lipedema areas showed more resistance to change even during the periods of rapid weight loss. So that to me is pretty definitive. And then when we look at the difference between right and leg, it wasn't a huge, they were very similar, but they weren't identical. I had a better result on the right side of my body. So I kind of asked, like, what's the nitty gritty? And to look at it in a slightly different way. Basically, it was saying that if you break down the loss, the multiplier difference between lipedema and non-lipedema areas, that in the high hip, it was 3.13 times faster. In the mid hip area, same thing. In the waist, 2.29 times faster. And in the upper thigh areas, 2.54 times faster. So that's a big difference, like as far as like how much more accelerated the loss was in the non-lipedema areas. So they basically non-lipedema areas responded approximately 2.79 times more effectively to weight loss interventions, and hips showed the strongest response in me. That was my personal experience. But even the slowest responding non-lipedema areas still did lose some weight. I'm sorry, even the slowest responding non-lipedema areas, which was my waist, like I didn't have as much to lose on my waist, still lost more inches and still lost more than twice as fast as in the lipedema areas. So, and that's when you think about it, like I had so much more to lose in my legs. And so this is one of the reasons that I think I came to the decision that I do have to have surgery, because I didn't measure here the difference in like my upper body, so my chest measurements, which I've gone down probably about 1.5 sizes as far as like cup sizes, and I've definitely lost I would say 4 inches on my on the circumference of my chest. So when I look at like my bra size on the chest measurement, it's gone down by 4 inches. So that's a major change. I can see the difference in my neck. I can see the difference in my face. And it to me is something that this is a result that only happened because of a massive intervention with Wegovy. That was an intervention that had to be monitored by a doctor. So where am I now? Well, I think I'm doing it. I now have the doctor, I have the insurance approval, and what I know is that this disease will progress. I'm in perimenopause right now, probably about to trip into like full on menopause. I don't know how that hormonal change is going to impact what's happening right now, but I do know that, especially on my lower leg and especially on the outside lower leg and the back of my lower leg, I have so much lipedema fat there. You really can't see anything. It's just a column straight down. And I know that once the cuffing happens, it's really sort of difficult, if not impossible, to correct it. So I'm going to make that move now, knowing that I may not have continued access to Wegovy. I have it now, but I may not always have it. And I know without that GLP-1 medication, it is a completely different story. And I also know that as soon as any fat starts to accumulate there, regular fat or lipedema fat, that it gets that much harder to do all of the things that I need to do to stay healthy and mobile. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm moving forward with the surgery and it's going to be very targeted. I hope that I can manage to do just hopefully knees down, but I'm going to let my surgeon ultimately be the deciding person, right? Like, she knows what she's doing there. She specializes in lipedema and lymphedema, and she's in the Northern Virginia area for those folks who might be looking for a doc. So that's where I am. And of course, everyone is going to have a different approach. They're going to do what's right for them. So I wish you all luck in that journey. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and definitely no judgment from this guy. I just want to make sure that you know what I know, because I think none of us is as good as all of us. I hope you got some value out of me using an AI tool for this. Obviously, I don't have any connection with Claude. You could use ChatGPT just as easily. Google also has Google Gemini, and there's some other cool things that Google's coming out with in AI. Claude, to me, is easier to use and a little bit less finicky. I also think fewer people use Claude, so I don't see the same slowdowns that I see with ChatGPT sometimes on the free version, right? At peak time. So I tend to go to Claude, but there might be other tools that you like more. If you're curious about my book, I'll put a link to it in the description below. But I just hope that this was helpful for you. I know people want to say that lipedema is easy, right? They want to say like, oh, you just lose the weight and it'll go away. But I think that after such a major intervention, I think this is a really good indicator of just how persistent, how resistant this fat is. And knowing that what I'm left with now is very fibrotic fat, if I could do it over again, I might have tried to have my surgeries a little bit sooner, or maybe slowed the loss of weight, which wasn't in a lot of control on that one, honestly. The Wegovy, I just really responded well to it. And I started at a time when the maintenance dose for Wegovy was still considered to be that 2.4. So there was a rush because of insurance to make sure that people were getting to that maintenance dose as quickly as possible. And for that reason, I lost weight quickly, by comparison to anything I've ever seen in my life. So anyway, happy to do a deeper dive. If this wasn't the best presentation, I can walk through in different ways if folks are interested. Just hope that you'll like, subscribe, and I'm curious to see your comments. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks.